Greetings, everyone. It's a new class tonight. Welcome to Parson's Acts 101, and we will be uh, starting in a moment. Just wanted to remind those who have been listening or viewing our broadcasts as we uh, string them, or if you view them later on. We just want you all to know that everyone is welcome to participate in our programs that we're offering. Also, especially those who are of low income or moderate income, we advise you to email me if you're going to participate so that we can continuously receive funding from the United States Department of HUD. Now we are going to go and refresh ourselves of what we learned the last time we met. It's been a couple of weeks, and I'm just going to do a quick summary of what we discussed. We discussed some health hazards, which was talking about how that when we consume alcohol, it causes heart disease, ulcers. It contributes to cirrhosis of the liver. It causes brain cell destruction, pancreatitis, and death from overdose. We also discussed some of the harmful effects that alcohol consumption has on the family. It will cause family conflicts of many different sorts. It causes stress and also depression. And if we think about it, we know that these effects are not normal. It's not healthy. So we have talked about making some changes. We also discussed some of the harmful effects that alcohol consumption has on society. When meeting with friends, we begin to discuss things of general interest, social problems, and such as feeding the hungry, or providing shelter for the homeless. And we begin to let down their inhibitions, and do and say things that they would not normally do and say. There's another thing that we did talk about. We talked about two different plants, and one was the pitcher plant. And the pitcher plant, and I'm just going to give some highlights of that. I'm not going to go into what my manual says here, but I made some notes here. Pitcher plant, alcohol being deceptive, and so is this plant, equally deceptive. It attempts to lure insects to it. It looks appealing as the insect begins to enjoy the savor of the plant slowly. It begins to slip down inside of it as the insect begins to realize something is wrong and starts to struggle. Tiny hairs block its escape, and slowly the insect slides all the way down into the pitcher plant. And the other plant was the Venice plant. And the examples of this plant shows how alcohol can work. Sometimes it may allow someone a short time to enjoy its high and seemingly not be drastically affected, but he will begin to slip down into its grasp. With other people, the first encounter with alcohol is life destroying, and they feel the effects as fast as an insect in Venice flytrap. And it finds itself in water that is also trapped in the plant. The insect finally drowns and the plant absorbs the remains. And then we also describe how the plant was, or which plant, how our life compared with David. That's what I wanted to say. And we talked about David, and I said that we don't normally go into the Bible, but David's story, I'm reminded how that he was supposed to be in battle and with the army, and he decided this day that he wasn't going to participate with them, that he was going to stay behind, and how that he was bored and he looked out the window, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is the essence of the story. How that he looked on this woman while she was taking a bath, and he lusted after her, and he committed adultery with her because she was the wife of a king. So he, after he committed adultery, he sent for her. And after he sent for her, he laid with her and he committed adultery, as I forestated. She became pregnant. And after she became pregnant, he recalled her husband, who was Uriah, and he wanted him to lay with his wife because he didn't want him to know that he impregnated his wife. And, you know, many times we can think back of what we have done because of whatever reasons, and we have to, you know, realize that, you know, sometimes we say, well, I got to cover it up because I don't want anyone to know. And I know that somebody here can describe how your life compares with David. And David shed innocent blood because of his actions. So any decision you make at this point can alter your life from this moment. King David repented, prayed to the Lord, and sought forgiveness. God forgave King David just as he will forgive you even now. But you must look at yourselves to determine, what do I want? If you're happy with your life and don't see a need to change, no one can force you to change. But if you don't like what you see in yourself, the opportunity to change is available today. So that's pretty much the summary of our lesson from the last class that we had before we went on our holiday break. Now we're going to go to our lesson 2. And this is our outline for tonight. We are going to talk about cocaine. Any dose may be an overdose. For some, the first dose may be an overdose, but it doesn't always work like that. And the general information that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint with some information about cocaine on the background of it and the effects of cocaine. Okay. Also, we're going to talk about the application, statements of former cocaine abusers, visual lessons, as well as lots testimony. We'll see if we have enough time to possibly get through all of this tonight. But I don't want to rush through it because this is something that is an epidemic in this world. I'm not going to say just in the United States, but it's all over. And we definitely want everyone to understand the effects, and not only the effects, but the problems we have when people participate and abuse such drugs. Now, the lesson here, the information I want to talk about, let me give you a definition of cocaine. Hydrochloride is a white crystal powder produced from South America coca plant. It is sold on the streets. It's generally 30 to 40% pure and sells for $10 per quarter gram to $50 per quarter gram. That's a lot. And as you need it more often, it becomes very expensive. And that's why we see where so many people become homeless. So many people don't have food. So many people don't have whatever they need to survive because their addiction has become very, very expensive. Also, what is sold on the street is often a mixture of cocaine with other substances that stretch the supply and increase the seller's profit. I'm reminded as I was doing my internship, I learned much, I saw much, I've seen many videos. You'd be surprised what they lace cocaine with. Seen some pretty sights, but it had to take somebody to understand what was taking place, and it was time to call 911. And had I not called 911, I don't know how long she would have lived, or if she would have lived. I do know that it was more than 3 months that she was in the hospital, and I was told you made the right call at the right time. So there may be somebody in your life that you may have to call 911 to help save the life of an individual. And so many of you say, well, I'm not a drug user. I don't abuse drugs, but it impacted my life some years ago, and that was one of the main reasons why I educated myself to alcohol chemicals, because I wanted to get understanding of why I saw so many wounded families, so many traumatized families, so many people having different things to happen to them. And it all went back to the use of drugs. I am looking here for my PowerPoints, and I haven't come to them yet, but we're moving on. What is sold on the street, we said, is usually a mixture of cocaine with other substances. Cocaine belongs to a class of drugs known as stimulants, which tend to give a temporary illusion of limitless power and energy. I don't like taking prescription medication for the simple fact that it causes me to lose strength. It causes me to lose power. I can't think. So if prescription drugs is going to do me that way, why would I want to go to the street drugs? It's something to think about. It's something to say, a reason why you and I should say, I don't want it, because I don't want to be out of control. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, which some people know it as NIDA, the euphoric effect produced by smoking cocaine is far more intense than if cocaine is ingested through snorting, and is at least equal to, if not surpassing, that obtained through injection. So we see here, if you didn't know before, there are various ways that you can take this drug: by snorting. And someone said to me, I said, why are you criticizing somebody who is smoking it? Because that's a poor man's way of getting high. It cost me to snort. I said I wouldn't tell nobody else that. It's nothing to brag about, because it costs more to snort than it does to smoke it. So the drug effects occur rapidly, generally in a few seconds, and usually last from 10 to 40 minutes. And when I first heard that, I'm like, what? I'm going to pay anywhere from $10 per quarter gram to $50 for a 40-minute high? Even though I don't like my prescriptions, but most of my prescriptions drug will give me at least a day's high or mellow feeling, or what do you call it when you're a drowsy feeling. If I'm going to do anything, I'd rather, and it's cheaper. It didn't cost that much. But as we learn tonight more about cocaine, we will understand better what our friends, our family members are doing, and what is causing them to react the way that they're reacting. Okay, we're going to talk about cocaine's effects. Cocaine is a central nervous system stimulant, like amphetamines. It causes a feeling of energy, but also has the numbing effect of some narcotics. The user experiences a short lived sense of euphoria and exhilaration. Afterwards, the user experiences depression, and we look at many of the ones that we tried to help, and yes, they may have felt really good while they were high, but after coming down off the high, they're depressed, they're nervous, irritable, and have a loss of temperature sensations, muscles tightening, or spasms may occur. Seen it all. And it's not a pretty picture to see when you see someone shaking and you can't calm them down. They trembling so much, and all I could do is pray and call 911 because it was out of my control. But being educated a little more now, I know there are some remedies that we can put in place to help them get through whatever they're going through. People use cocaine for the same reason that they use any other drug, because it feels good. I know that when they put me on certain medications in the hospital and I didn't like the way it made me feel. And I'm like, I can't do this. And when I called someone that worked in the hospital and I told them how I was feeling and what I was going through, they said, oh my goodness, you're high. So I said, what are you going to do about it? I said, I'm getting off of this. And I shared with the medical staff, I can't do it because I did not like the feeling. I did not like the way it made me react. So I did something about it. The rush is pleasurable and it brings immense feelings of self confidence, but it's deceptive. And cocaine's promises are false. We talked about that plant, the plant that was deceptive and had uh, the insect to be deceived. That's what these drugs do. They deceive many people. And the promises are false. What do you mean? Let me give you an example. A person who is on cocaine may think he or she is brilliant, but he or she will talk fast without making much sense. He or she will be talking about something, and without finishing his sentence, he or she will begin talking about something completely different than what they were talking about before. It changes your way of thinking. It changes you. And after hearing these things, you can see that cocaine is powerful for a moment. One of the many dangers of cocaine is that it places a strain on the heart. Everyone that I know in my family who has done cocaine of some sort has heart issues. So I can attest that it does put a strain on the heart. They have had to have stents put in. I'm not saying everyone who has stents in my family is because of cocaine uses, but some ones that I know did it and did it for a long period of time has had to have stents put in because it damaged the heart. Also, um, it causes a reduce in blood flow or oxygen blood oxygenated, and it causes the heart to beat irregularly. Sometimes it even leads to a heart attack. Their blood vessels begin to constrict and causing a quick rise in blood pressure. The brain and the central nervous system receives lasting damage. Usually, these damages cannot be. They may be repaired, but not to the point where um, they have a new heart. The only way that they can get a new heart is God give them a miracle, or they may get a replacement. If he shares a needle, he risks something, uh, risks contracting hepatitis or AIDS. A lot of times, drug abusers, drug users, if they use the needle, contact AIDS or hepatitis. Most dealers will adulterate their supply to increase their profit margin. They use milk, sugar, or another powder to give what they sell more volume. And they don't realize or they don't care what it does to you. All they are concerned about is being profitable, making an increase on sales. Thus, on the street, someone never knows what he is actually buying. In some cases, Drano cleaner, for example, have been added because the cocaine was so weak. Now, if Drano cleaner can harm a pipes, they open them up and everything, what will it do to the physical body? That's something also to think about. We're not thinking about the chemicals that we're ingesting, putting in our bodies by various forms. All we know is we want a high. We want to get out of the situation that we're in or that we're going through. But when you come down off the high, when you wake up, is the problem gone? No, it's not. So I think what we need to do is find another solution of to how to get through the problem or problems. It is not hard to spot someone on cocaine. He or she will usually draw attention to himself by his or her fast rate of talking. He will frequently talk in circles and fail to finish sentences. Cocaine gives a false self confidence. The user will become jive in his talk and actions. He or she will think he or she is as cool can be. And it is comical to see some people who have dressed themselves while under the influence. Now, we can go on TV and we know that there are comedians and there are people in uh, Hollywood or other places that may come on in the movies, plays, and everything. They may dress comical, but it's not because of an influence, it's just their act. But when you see someone, someone under the influence who have put clothes on and have dressed themselves from head to toe, all I can do is shake my head. Wow, what caused them to dress like that? And after the high of cocaine, the user expresses depression, experiences, I'm sure, I'm sorry, not expresses, but experiences depression, nervousness, irritability, loss of temperature, sensation, as I forestated before, and muscle tightening, spasms. The drug makes the body crave more, and the mind feel that it has is to have more to be happy. I can't say that the prescription drugs that I have used, I've never tried cocaine, but other street drugs that I have tried, God didn't allow me to get high, and I think it was because He didn't want me to get addicted. He didn't want me to go down that road because I got to be honest. Whatever I do, I try to do it well. And I'd rather have Jesus. That's all I can say. And I know that I'm not here to preach to anybody, but I am trying to get you to see that it's necessary to make a change. And you may feel as though that you can't do it alone, but I know somebody that can help you. That who the creator, he knows what you're going through. And cocaine is not the answer. Alcohol is not the answer. As we open up with this class the first week on alcohol, it's not the answer. We're going to talk about application here. Statements of former cocaine abusers. I have some here. One person says, when I was doing cocaine, I got selfish. I wished I didn't have no one, no kids, no parents, no people that loved me. I didn't care about anything. That is how crazy I was. I just couldn't get enough. You know what? Anyone who tells you cocaine is okay is a liar. That's somebody that I feel can decide to make a change. And as I said previously, that when you are doing such drugs, you do get selfish. It does affect the family. It does affect society, co-workers. You can't get up. You can't go to work. It's really unhealthy. Another person said, I had a beautiful family, a big house in the suburbs, everything I wanted. Then I got into cocaine and I almost lost it all. It's a lie that cocaine is not addictive. I didn't choose to be an addict. Quitting cocaine was the only thing that I couldn't do myself. I'll be a recovering addict day by day for the rest of my life. I'm going to leave that alone. The third person said, I sat in my apartment and turned on the gas. I was crazy from cocaine. I couldn't live without it. That wasn't me. It was somebody else. When I saw cocaine was more important than me, I woke up. Now I'm slipping myself with reality to stay strong. I'll be struggling for the rest of my life. Another person says, I stole for cocaine. See, cocaine torments you till you do anything to get it. I don't know if you read about Miss Cocaine, but it is controlling. She is controlling. He, whatever you want to call it, the demon is controlling. You become evil, a real conniver, and this person said they're not that bad of a guy. They're not that low. But when you do cocaine, you lie to yourself about being in control. That's why I was saying it's very controlling. So you yourself, you're out of control, but you act in the control of a foreign substance. They said, I got to a point where my life was going down the drain and I didn't even care. Anyone who tells you that cocaine is okay, don't you believe it? And the last one, Mercury Morris, a football star, he got busted as a result of his lust for cocaine. He bypassed the high and went straight to mess up. Some of you know exactly what he went through because you're taking the exact same ride. And after these four different, actually five statements of these former cocaine users, it gives us something to think about. I have a question here. Have you ever gone to the meat market and when the butcher lays your selection on the scales, you look to make sure his finger is not on the scale, too? Maybe too many jokes have been told on butchers, but when I am paying, I want a true weight. When gold prices were very high, some buyers hollowed out the bottoms of their weights and filled them with heavier metals so that it took more gold. I'm losing my pages. Equal their supposed weights. And many people were cheated due to this unjust balance system. In every decision we make, we use a balance system. On one side, we stack up everything we hope to gain, and on the other side, we stack up all we think it might cost us. In some things, we may be honest and stuck the weights evenly and make a just decision. But sometimes we use unjust weights. Most of these weights we can see before us, but sometimes we do not see all the negative consequences. Have you ever been torn between doing what you want and doing what is right? I have. I can admit that. Mentally, you begin to stack the weights for the ideal and against it. The next morning, you wake up to find that someone must have slipped in some extra weights. Because as you look around, Nothing seems familiar. And as you try to recall what you did the night before, you remember trying to make a decision on what you were going to do, and you realize you chose wrong. Most of the unjust weights we use are the result of selfishness. That is, that somehow we are going to get what we want no matter the cost to someone else. Very selfish. I try my best to not to be a burden to someone else. I want to, and I do, carry my own weight. Most of the time, we try to be fair about our decision, but sometimes we choose something just because we want it. I don't care how bad I want it, I can't put that burden on somebody else. And I tell God what I desire, what I need, what I want, some way, somehow. And someone said to me just the other day, I don't care what you say you're going to get, you get it. It may take a while, but you get it. Perhaps we do not intend to hurt anyone when we start out, but something just seems to go wrong. We need to learn to consider all the potential consequences in advance and make a wise decision. I want to talk to you about Lot's testimony. Lot had journeyed with his uncle Abram for some time, and the day came when they had to separate. And for the herds of cattle were too great to graze in the same area, the uncle gave Lot the choice of where to go. And as Lot looked over the plain of Jordan, he was mentally stacking weights. And when they separated, he pitched his tent facing the wicked city of Sodom. Before long, Lot had moved into the city itself. The next thing we heard was when God sends Lot two angels to bring Lot and his family out of Sodom before it is destroyed. And the angel had mentioned to him to gather his family together and flee the city. But when he went to warn his sons in law, they ignored him. Lot fled the city with his wife and two daughters, but his wife, not wanting to leave the things of Sodom, turned back and was destroyed. Lot never regained what he once had when he first pitched his tent toward Sodom. He lost his wealth, part of his family, and his integrity because he did not use proper weights in making his initial decision. And I just want to leave this with you. Our lives can take a similar road if we stack our weights unjustly. No one starts out thinking, I am going to destroy myself and the ones I love. No, you don't see that while you are not using the weights justly. But many end up doing just that. They have an opportunity uh, to lay aside all the things that bind you and harm you. Every one of us has an opportunity today to lay aside all things that bind you and harm you You can evaluate your situation objectively and make your right decision. I think that we need to go back, every one of us who is on this broadcast, and think about the weights that destroys us, the weights that are unbalanced in our lives, the weights that cause us to make the wrong decisions, and also the effects that it has dealing with our families, our significant others, our coworkers, our church brothers and sisters, pastors, and many more, society as a whole. I am going to open up for questions at this time. There may be someone that has a question, and you can post them, and I can respond. And I realize that a lot of people do not like to ask questions in front of everybody else, but as I have forestated often, I will give it again. My email is pastorparson57 at gmail. And you can send your question and I will respond back to you. And there may be somebody that wants help. I admonish you to get into a drug program wherever you are today. If you're in Hagerstown, we have many AA programs. We have many substance abuse programs. We have many therapists that can help you get through your addiction. And if you don't know or can't figure it out, there's a hotline that you can go to the website in every area. I don't care if you in the north, south, east, or west of the United States, there is somebody that you can reach out to. And if you cannot find it, email me and I will assist you in finding help. I'm going to look one other place to see where I can bring up my PowerPoint at this time. And let's see. I do know that it's on my computer. Okay. I'm trying to open it. It's trying to get me to save it. I'm going to go back and just pull it up. Okay. Okay, we're just about there. I know it's here. Okay, thank you for patiently waiting. It's uploading. And I'm not having no issue here. I see it's processing, and just as soon as it opens, I can put it on the screen to share. It is a larger file than I normally use, so it's taking a little longer to process. And this is out of my control, but when you have something that is man made, it has clicks, glitches, whatever you want to call it. Hmm. Well, oh, there it is. Okay, this is a PowerPoint that um, the National Center on Substance Abuse and Child Welfare has published. And there was something in here that I wanted to show some visual aid on. And I know that some of these are old statistics, but it is real. And we were talking about stimulants tonight and how that the stimulants causes the central nervous system depressants. It causes hallucination. We already talked about alcohol and cocaine, and these are common drugs. And as we move on, we will learn of more drugs. Addiction is a primary chronic disease of brain reward, motivation, memory, related circuitry. Dysfunction in these circuits leads to characteristic biological, psychological, social, and spiritual manifestations. This is reflected in an individual pathologically pursuing reward and or relief by substance use and other behaviors. And this is the brain, and it's talking about the imaging studies and how it shows physical changes in the areas of the brain when a drug is ingested that are critical in making judgments, decision makings, learning, and memory and behavior control. These changes alter the way the brain works and helps explain the compulsion and continued use despite negative consequences. The rise and fall of the cocaine high. We mentioned that, and this is an example when you have control, when you're not on cocaine, but when you're on cocaine, the right side, it shows you how it's not normal. We don't want to talk about dopamine right now, but think about the parenting implications for a parent involved in child welfare who is actively using drugs or alcohol. We talked about how it does affect the family and everyone else involved. We can think about the implications for a parent involved in child welfare who has just stopped using drugs or alcohol and is trying to resume normal activities with their children. If you are tasked with observing a home visit, what conclusions might you draw? How do you balance compassion, understanding, and patience with a parent's temporarily compromised brain condition while maintaining parent accountability and, uh-oh, can't get the other word. Well, okay. In-home indicators of potential parental substance use. A report of substance use in the Child's Protective Service called or report paraphernalia observed or reported in the home, the smell of alcohol, marijuana, or other drugs on the parent or in the home. A child reports use by parents or adults in the home. Parent's behavior suggests intoxication. Parent exhibits signs of a substance use disorder. Parent reports their own substance use. Parent shows or reports experiencing physical effects of a substance use disorder and or withdrawal. And the effects of substance use disorder on family function, child development, and people are in denial because when they have a child that's not developed properly, they want to put it on everything else but what it is. They're in denial. So education is important. Awareness is important. So whoever is in the age where they can get pregnant or conceive, if you're using any kind of substance, it looks like here that it backs me up that you need to stop because it will cause some disorders on family function, household safety, psychosocial impact, parenting skills, intergenerational trauma, and mental health problems. And we will pick up next week and we'll talk about crack cocaine. We didn't go too far, we talked mainly about cocaine. But there's various types or uses. And we want to give you a little insight on all. So if there's not any questions, I would just like to say that if anybody wants to make a donation, feel free. Our Cash App tag ID is JHOP. Life in Focus is coming across the screen. And that's where you can go to Cash App and make your donation. We thank you for coming on board to bring awareness and education to you, how you can stop, get help, heal, become healthy, and whatever else that we have for you, we will give it to you. But I need you to contact me, Pastor Parson 57 at gmail.com. God bless you. I'll see you next Wednesday, January the 12th, at the same time, 7:30 p.m.